America is in trouble, and no one is warning you. Right now, the U.S. housing market is showing numbers we have not seen in over a decade, and if these numbers continue, millions of families could be affected. This is not fear. This is not prediction. This is data. Foreclosures have jumped 17% in just 1 year. Nearly 900,000 homeowners are underwater, and several states are quietly preparing for a housing disaster that could shake the entire country. But here's the part no one is telling you. The people in power are pretending everything is fine. They won't show you the charts, they won't show you the filings, they won't show you the truth, but I will. Tonight, we're breaking down real numbers, real graphs, real warnings, and what's coming next for the American housing market, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, or just trying to survive in this economy. Watch this video till the end because what I'm about to show you may affect your job, your savings, your rent, and even the roof over your head. This is the U.S. housing report, and the crisis has already begun. The truth becomes clearer the moment you look at the numbers, and trust me, these numbers are not normal. Right now on your screen, you're seeing the first chart we're analyzing tonight, a chart that shows exactly how many Americans are entering foreclosure in 2025. Look closely. That line, the one rising sharply, represents a 17% year-over-year increase in foreclosure filings. This isn't a small rise, this isn't a slow trend. This is a spike, the kind we usually see right before a major economic shift. Each point on that graph represents a family that received a letter saying, "You are behind on your mortgage. You may lose your home." And here's the part that should terrify anyone who owns a house or plans to buy one. These numbers are rising faster than experts predicted. Economists expected foreclosures to rise slowly, but instead they shot upward in the last 3 months like a warning flare nobody wants to acknowledge. Now look at the second graph on your screen. This one is even more shocking. It shows the number of Americans who are underwater on their mortgages, meaning they owe more money to the bank than their home is worth. Right now, over 900,000 American homeowners are underwater. 900,000. That's nearly 1 million families trapped in homes they might lose. Homes they can't sell, can't refinance, and can't escape. This is the kind of data financial institutions hate to talk about, because once people know the truth, panic begins. Now pay attention to the bottom of this graph. That downward curve you see is home values slipping in specific states, values going down while mortgage debt stays the same. That's how Americans get trapped. That's how foreclosures begin. That's how housing crises explode. But here's the part almost nobody realizes. The data we're showing you today is only the first layer. The deeper numbers, the ones we'll reveal in the next part, are far worse. We're about to go into why these numbers are exploding, which states are collapsing from the inside, why the government is acting like nothing is happening, and what this means for you, even if you don't own a home. Stay with me because the next part explains why Americans are losing their homes. And trust me, the reasons are more disturbing than you think. The foreclosure numbers are already frightening, but the reasons behind them are even darker. This crisis didn't appear suddenly. It has been building quietly for years, slowly tightening its grip around millions of American families. And now, in 2025, that pressure has finally exploded. What's happening inside the housing market isn't one mistake or one economic shift. It's a chain reaction of multiple forces hitting ordinary people all at once. The first and most painful reason is the nightmare of mortgage payments. Just look at the change in the last few years. In 2020, the average mortgage interest rate was around 2.8%. It was affordable, safe, and stable. But today, that same loan comes with a rate of 6 to 7%, sometimes even higher. That difference might look small on paper, but for homeowners it means thousands of extra dollars every single month. A family that once paid $1,800 suddenly pays over $2,700. A household that paid $2,300 now pays more than $3,400. It is impossible for the average American family to keep up with increases this massive. And when they fail to pay, the bank doesn't slow down. The bank doesn't wait. The bank moves in and takes the house. The second reason is something almost no one talks about anymore. Home prices rose far too fast, and then they suddenly stopped. For 3 years straight, from 2020 to 2023, home prices skyrocketed. People panicked and rushed to buy houses at any price, even bidding tens of thousands of dollars over the listing price. But by 2024 and 2025, the growth stalled and even reversed in some areas. This means millions of homeowners bought at the top of the market. Now, their homes are worth less than what they owe. This condition, negative equity, is one of the most dangerous financial positions any homeowner can be in. You can't sell because the sale won't cover the loan. You can't refinance because the bank won't approve it. You can only stay stuck and slowly fall behind. The third reason is the crushing weight of daily living expenses. Food is more expensive. Gas is more expensive. Electricity is more expensive. Healthcare, insurance, and basic bills now cost more than ever. Meanwhile, incomes have barely moved. Most Americans are already struggling to stretch their money to the end of the month. And when everything becomes more expensive at the same time, the first thing that becomes impossible to pay is the mortgage. Families are choosing between groceries and housing. They're choosing between electricity and mortgage payments. Month by month, the pressure breaks them. The fourth reason is job instability. Across the country, layoffs are rising in tech, retail, warehouses, delivery services, construction, and manufacturing. Most Americans live paycheck to paycheck with very little savings. When someone loses their job or even has their working hours reduced, they immediately fall behind on payments. Once you miss one mortgage payment, the second comes faster, and the third is nearly unavoidable. The foreclosure process begins quickly, and once it starts, it's almost impossible to escape. The fifth, and perhaps the most shocking, reason is the insurance crisis, especially in states like Florida. Insurance companies have raised premiums so dramatically that in many cases, homeowners now pay more for insurance than for their actual mortgage. Imagine paying $2,000 for your mortgage and then receiving a bill for $2,400 in insurance alone. This is real, and it's happening right now. The result is predictable. Thousands of homeowners are simply walking away from their homes. They aren't selling, they aren't negotiating. They're giving up because keeping the home has become financially impossible. The sixth reason is the silent rise of property taxes. In states like Texas, New Jersey, and Illinois, property taxes have exploded year after year. Homeowners who once managed their payments comfortably are now overwhelmed by taxes that add thousands of dollars to their annual expenses. This is the final blow for many families already struggling with high mortgages and rising prices. They simply can't afford to stay in the homes they worked their entire lives for. When you combine all of these forces, higher mortgage rates, falling home values, rising living costs, unstable jobs, exploding insurance premiums, and extreme property taxes, you create a perfect storm, a slow-motion collapse that millions of Americans are now caught inside. And this storm is only growing stronger. Now that we understand why this crisis is happening, we need to look at where the disaster is hitting the hardest. Because even though the entire country is feeling the pressure, some states are collapsing faster and more violently than others. When you look at the national foreclosure map, the pattern is unmistakable. Certain regions are glowing red with danger, signaling areas where homeowners are losing their homes at an alarming pace. Let's start with Florida, the state that has become the epicenter of the housing crisis. Florida was once seen as paradise, warm weather, beaches, and booming construction. But today, the same state is drowning under skyrocketing insurance premiums, unstable markets, and storm-related damages. Insurance companies have either abandoned the state or multiplied their prices. Thousands of homeowners now face bills larger than their mortgages. Entire neighborhoods are seeing foreclosure signs popping up like weeds. Families who lived comfortably for years are suddenly packing their belongings into boxes, forced out of homes they never imagined losing. Florida's crisis isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Move your eyes across the map to California, and you see another story, different problems. Same result. California's home prices were already some of the highest in the nation, but job losses in the tech sector and massive cost of living pressures have pushed thousands of homeowners to their breaking point. Many bought homes during the peak price years, believing values would rise forever. Instead, values are dropping in several counties, leaving people trapped with mortgages they can't escape. Families who once made six figures are falling behind. People are leaving the state in huge numbers, abandoning homes because staying is no longer possible. Then there's Texas, a state many believed was safe. For years, Texas was celebrated as an affordable alternative to states like California. But now, Texas is being crushed by exploding property taxes and rapidly rising living costs. In some counties, taxes have nearly doubled over the past few years. Homeowners who moved to Texas for a better life are shocked to discover that their monthly expenses are now higher than what they were trying to escape from. Mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, it all adds up until families simply can't hold on anymore. Foreclosures are rising, and the numbers are expected to climb even further. But the crisis isn't limited to the Sun Belt. The Midwest, states like Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois, is quietly slipping into its own housing disaster. These states have been hit with factory closures, weakening job markets, and stagnant wages. Home values in certain areas are falling, creating pockets of negative equity that trap homeowners. People who bought modest homes thinking they were making a safe investment now find themselves unable to sell, unable to refinance, and unable to keep up with rising costs. Their stories rarely make national headlines, but these Midwestern states are experiencing some of the most painful and quiet foreclosures in the entire country. When you zoom out and look at the map as a whole, the picture becomes frighteningly clear. Multiple regions, the Southeast, the West Coast, the Midwest, are all collapsing at the same time. This isn't a localized problem. This isn't a single state issue. This is a national pattern, spreading like cracks across a foundation. The cracks are widening, the pressure is increasing, and the next part of this video will show something even more alarming. What this crisis is doing to ordinary American families behind closed doors, and what happens when a home becomes too expensive to keep and too damaged to save. Behind every number, behind every chart, behind every point on the foreclosure map, there is a real person, a real family, and a real story that is far more painful than any statistic can show. And the deeper you look into these stories, the more you realize that this crisis isn't just about money or mortgages. It's about the slow collapse of the American dream. It's about families breaking under pressure they never asked for, and homes turning from places of safety into sources of fear. Take the story of a man I'll call Mark from Ohio. Just 3 years ago, Mark bought what he believed would be his forever home, a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. He paid around $340,000, a price he could handle at the time, but today that same home is worth closer to $305,000. The value dropped as other homes in the area sold for less. Yet Mark still owes $330,000 on his mortgage. He is underwater, trapped in a home worth less than the debt attached to it. He can't sell it, he can't refinance it, he can't lower the payment. Every month he falls further behind, and now he's just one missed paycheck away from losing everything he worked for. Stories like Mark's are not rare. They're not exceptions. They are becoming the new reality. There's Angela, a single mother in Florida who saw her home insurance bill jump from $2,400 a year to over $9,000. Her entire budget exploded overnight. She tried cutting expenses, taking on extra work, even borrowing money, but nothing was enough. One day, she opened her mailbox and found the letter that every homeowner fears, a foreclosure notice. She told her kids they had to move. Her youngest cried, asking why they had to leave the house where he grew up. Angela didn't have an answer that made sense, because even she didn't understand how everything fell apart so quickly. And then there's John and Lisa, a young couple in California who both work full-time jobs. They bought a home at the height of the market because everyone around them said prices would only go higher. They believed they were building a future. But then Lisa lost her job. Then the mortgage payment increased. Then the cost of gas, food, and utilities climbed higher and higher. By the time they realized they were in trouble, it was already too late. They're now selling their furniture piece by piece just to stay afloat another month. Their dream home has become a reminder of everything they're losing. These aren't just stories, they are warnings. They reveal what really happens when a housing market reaches its breaking point. People don't simply lose homes, they lose stability, they lose security. They lose years of effort, hope, and savings. Children switch schools. Families split moving boxes late at night. Parents stare at their bills wondering where they went wrong, when the truth is, they did nothing wrong. The system around them changed, and they were left to carry the consequences. What's happening now across America is not a slow decline. It is a silent disaster hitting ordinary families who are already stretched to their limits. And the most frightening part is this: many of these people have no idea what's coming next. But in the next part of this video, we're going to break down exactly that. What happens next, how bad this crisis can get, and why some experts believe that it is only the beginning of something much larger. What comes next in this crisis is the part most Americans are completely unprepared for. Because when a housing market begins to crack, it never cracks quietly. It breaks in waves. And right now, we are only seeing the first wave. The rise in foreclosures, the underwater mortgages, the panic in high-risk states, these are early tremors, the warning signs before a much stronger shock. If these numbers continue rising at the pace they are, the United States could be heading toward a full-scale housing correction, one that reshapes the financial future of millions. The next stage of this crisis begins when more homes hit the market, because struggling families have no choice but to sell. When too many homes flood the market at the same time, prices begin to fall, not a little, but fast. Imagine owning a home worth $400,000 and within a year, watching it fall to $370,000, then $350,000, then $330,000. This chain reaction pulls even more people underwater, trapping them exactly where the banks and rising costs already pushed them. Once prices begin falling, the homeowners who were barely holding on start to give up. They walk away, they stop paying, they accept foreclosure, and the cycle becomes stronger. Crisis feeds crisis. But the market isn't the only thing at risk. If foreclosures continue rising, entire neighborhoods begin to change. Homes sit empty. Properties decay. Investor groups swoop in and buy houses in bulk, deciding what happens to communities instead of actual families. Rent skyrockets as corporations control more and more sections of the housing supply. And in cities already struggling with homelessness, the pressure becomes unbearable. Shelters overflow, families sleep in cars, neighborhoods that once felt safe start feeling fragile. America's cities could face a housing instability that affects not only homeowners, but renters, workers, and entire economies. And here's the part experts are afraid to say out loud. If unemployment rises even slightly, this crisis accelerates instantly, because millions of Americans are living one paycheck away from disaster. One job cut, one emergency bill, one medical issue, and they join the wave of people who can't keep up. If that happens at scale, the housing market doesn't just weaken, it snaps. And when it snaps, the consequences ripple far beyond real estate. We're talking about credit damage, financial system stress, consumer spending collapse, and an economy where everyday people suffer while institutions stay silent. Some analysts believe this could stabilize if mortgage rates drop significantly, but others warn that even if rates fall, the damage already done may take years to repair. Because once a homeowner falls behind, once a family loses a house, once a neighborhood starts collapsing, you can't reverse that overnight. The scars remain long after the charts stop rising, and the biggest question now is simple. How many more families will fall before this crisis reaches its peak? In the next part of this video, we're going to bring everything together: the numbers, the stories, the warnings, and the decisions Americans may need to make as this crisis unfolds. Because understanding what happens next may be the difference between stability and becoming part of the next foreclosure statistic.